I'm Christian Earhart, and 1 year ago I landed the world's first quad backflip on a mountain bike. What initially inspired me to quad flip was like, I grew up watching Nitro Circus, and I was the biggest Nitro Circus fan watching it growing up. Watching Jed Milden land it on a BMX bike back in 2015, I think it was. It just inspired me, and I strived to be at that point in my career. And it wasn't until the fall of 2023, I was riding a Nitro Circus show. In practice, I over-rotated a triple backflip to the landing, and instantly I was like, oh my goodness, like, I think I could do four. And our Willie actually ran up to me and he's like, oh mate, if you come to my house, I bet you could do four. That's what sparked the whole project. So 2 weeks later, I flew to our Willie's house in Australia. First time going to Australia. It was an incredible trip. And initially I was there to watch Connor Stitt become the world's youngest kid to triple backflip. But in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted a quad flip. So at the end of the week there, after Connor landed his triple, we had a day set aside for me to try quad flips to his flat bag. The takeoff that our Willie has is the same as the Nitro takeoff, as far as I know. I knew going into it, it was gonna be really tricky. I just wanted the proof of concept that yes, it's possible, so then I can pitch a bigger project. And that's exactly what I got. After it was some of the scariest attempts, pedaling as hard as I can down his huge driveway into his airbag and rotating four flips. It's the scariest feeling, doing that, committing to that fourth flip, because you're just falling out of the sky. And honestly, into a flat bag, as safe as it looks, it hurts a lot when you're rotating and falling from that high. So that trip was a huge success because it proved that it's possible. I rotated four flips. I think I got two around, but I knew that I had to go back to the drawing board. We had to make the jump bigger. It had to be designed to make my kind of bike flip faster. But the biggest thing was where, and I had no idea where I could even do this project. After the success of our Willie Land, I then went to pitching this project to anyone that would listen. I'd be sending out cold emails, cold DMs, trying to find brands to partner with it. The hardest thing was finding the right landing. I would have loved to do this to dirt. I would love to do it to like a more legit landing. I couldn't find a place that we could do that. Like, we needed the biggest setup imaginable. We settled on Mid-America Outdoors in Jay, Oklahoma. I ended up calling Travis Pastrana, who else would you call in this situation, right? Who was like, listen, we have this new training facility and I'm sure they'd love to have you. They have the biggest airbags in the world. And he's like, if there's any place in the world you could do it, this would be the safest location. So I then knew we had the location. We had a flat bag, we had a lander bag that's big enough. And by big enough, it was like big enough to make it work, right? Like, again, when Jed Milden did this on a BMX bike, he had a 22-foot takeoff, and I'm doing it on a bigger bike that rotates slower. And the landing, I believe, was 17 or 18 feet tall. So that was the biggest constraint, was the fact that we're already much smaller than what Jed's setup was on. So we're gonna have to design a ramp around the landing. Luckily, we got some really cool brands involved. Channel 199, 9 Yard, Hyper Bicycles, Keto Sports. We got a list of amazing brands involved to help make this happen. So then I went to work. I got the geometry for the Nitro Circus ramps, the geometry for our Willie's ramps, and I was like, how can I design a ramp that I can go into it at a very high speed, and then I can rotate at a very high speed, because it has to be really steep. It almost feels like you're hitting a wall, so it ended up being a triple radius ramp, meaning that the radius of the ramp changed 3 different times, and the exit trajectory was 75 degrees, which is extremely steep. I knew that we only had one chance with this ramp. Marcus Shopey, a really good friend of mine, welded it in Northern California.
Yeah, basically I weld full time, so like day job, like 9 to 5, and then right after work he'd come over and then like we'd just start working on it.
And then had to trailer it to Oklahoma. With limited funds and limited resources, we really had one shot to get this ramp right.
The difficult part was it had to be like broken down into a trailer, so that was like extra time in the design and build.
I knew that there was a lot of pressure on the ramp build, and we had to nail that. And because of that, we built the ramp in 3 sections. The top section we built 2 of them, a steeper version and a less steep version, to see what would feel better on the bike, and we ended up going with a steeper version, so I'm glad we did that. But so much design work came down to building this ramp. We had a week to build it. The ramp build is hectic. Marcus is working 40 hours a week, so when he would get off of work at, I think it was like 6 p.m., I'd come over. We'd weld until midnight. And we did this every night until I left, and because we were on kind of a tight time frame. Next, I had to trailer this ramp across the country. With limited budget, I bought a $500 trailer off Facebook Marketplace. Had to replace a couple of the tires, and I then drove it 35 hours from Northern California to Oklahoma with this ramp on the back of it with my van, and yeah, just in time to start the project.
Look at this thing.
He bought this trailer, and he did end up bringing it over, and we had to like do a lot of repairs because like the tires weren't even like lined up. Like that trailer was so sketchy. It's honestly a miracle it made it there.
Well, the van doesn't want to start.
I made it to Mid-America Outdoors in Jay, Oklahoma, and I made sure everything was perfect, except for when I got to Mid-America, I had 2 weeks to train into the flat bag before the landing came out and the filmers came, and I realized once I got there, I hadn't invited anyone to be there with me. I have no one to ride with. Like, I was like, I have no one to like watch me ride, and you can't go try this stuff alone. It was a very stressful couple weeks. I made friends with the maintenance crew from Mid-America, who after they got off work would come drink beer and watch me attempt quad flips. But another thing I overlooked was April in Oklahoma is like peak tornado season, so we were dealing with crazy crosswinds. Where we were attempting this was in like a valley. I mean, we were having 30-mile-an-hour winds like mid-session. There'd be wind days where I can't even ride because of the wind. It was a very stressful 2 weeks, but ultimately I couldn't get 4 flips around. It gets very, very complicated when you start trying to do this, and I wasn't doing it on the right setup. Everything was too small, but I wasn't gonna give up. I knew I had to make this happen, and the battle I was facing was the faster that I go into the takeoff, the slower I rotate in the air, because I can't pop as hard. But the slower I go into the takeoff, the faster I rotate in the air, but I don't have as much air time. So it's this battle of, do I go faster? Do I go slower? It feels better when I go slower, but when I go faster, I have more time.
I think I could, it's just such a weird balance of like, do I just go to the top and go ridiculously fast and go ridiculously big? But if I don't get 4 around, the consequences are so much higher. But then if I go slower, I can snap way harder, spin way harder, a little more, less controlled, but I'm not as high, it's a bit safer, and I can rotate fast. It's such a weird battle.
If you're comfortable with that certain speed, then you just have to do what it takes to make it work.
It wasn't until 3 days before the landing came out that I actually rotated my first quad flip to the flat bag. That was the most relieving moment, because at that point I knew it is truly possible on this setup, and it's going to happen this week. Because up until that point, it was just so stressful because all these brands believe in me and are putting money behind this, and it was like one trick. Like if the trick doesn't happen, we have no project.
He like literally, as I'm getting on the plane, he sends me a clip of him almost doing 4. He did like 3.5 and landed completely on his head, and that was like all I saw right before I got on a plane. And I was like, is he even okay? Like he didn't say anything. He just sent me a clip of him landing on his head on the bag. And then that day he like picks us up, and that day he does like a little evening practice, and he finally got it like to wheels, and we were like, this is like it now, like it's working.
A very special part of this project was how much support I got from my friends and family. One of the biggest ones being Marcus Shopey, who actually flew himself to Mid-America to watch the project unfold, and he ended up being one of the biggest helping hands. More than Marcus was just the fact that my family came out, my mom, my brother, my sister. For such a monumental part in my career, for them to be there, it meant the world to me.
It never occurred to me until I realized you have to sit down in there.
So what about it?
You sit down, you don't just put your legs in.
No, you want your whole body to get cold.
The surface of the landing we had is something called resi. It's a hard plastic material that basically makes things able to be ridden on. So we were supplied with 3 rolled up resis. Each of them weighed 3,000 pounds.
We wanted to set everything up so it'd go as smooth as possible on the day of. And we show up and like the crew was supposed to be out there, but they ended up being busy with other stuff on that property. So like we were supposed to have a Kubota driver, but then we get there, they're like, yeah, the Kubota's not in use. We don't have anyone to help you guys. And there's no way we're moving these like 3,000 pound rolls of resi, like brand new. We just kind of found out where the skid steer was and we went and drove it down the hill and just started using it because they didn't seem to mind that.
Marcus, what are we doing?
Alright dude, we're in the brand new Kubota. We got the signature model grips here. I like a lot of electrical tape and metal strapped to it. Makes it feel really good. This one we got the regular steering, but we also got the addition of this. I think it's mainly for looks on this one. We've also been raising nesting in here. This is also a nature channel. And that's it. That's
the door hinges for the door.
And it took us a while. Like we had to flip it because Christian wanted the back side of it, which the way it rolled, we had to flip this like 300-foot roll, which took so much manpower. It was so difficult to flip that thing.
So you'll have to spin it, and this will be the far one.
Yeah.
I'll show you about where it should be. Just know as soon as we drop this, it's also gonna wanna roll, so.
Yeah. He's looking good. Practice. He's doing everything he needs to. He's warming up. I think today's going to be the day. I think everything's going to go smooth.
After, I think it was 3 quad flips in a row, I knew that this was the time of either make the call to bring the landing in or, you know, fall to the pressure and kind of call the project off, because I'd only done 8 quad flips to the flat bag, like, ever. And it was like, now we either bring the landing out because we're running out of time and schedules, or we quit. And I knew that wasn't an option. I knew everyone was here, and I had to make this happen. Like, too many people believed in me. So I made the call to bring the landing out, and I then went up to our house and kind of spent a lot of time meditating, in prayer, and really just keeping my mind and my body warm.
And we had the resi material set right before landing, and it was then our job to move the landing bag in the right position. We had 5 guys putting up the landing. We did it all ourselves.
It felt like a while. It was like non-stop 7 hours, like, to get it, but it finally came through.
It was almost 7 hours later when I got the phone call saying, come on down, it's time, everything's ready. it's go time. And by the time I got that phone call, it was 7 p.m. The sun sets at 8 p.m. I had 1 hour to make this happen, and it was game time.
Between attempts, I've never been so scared in my entire life. Never. I was so scared because I felt like though I was anticipating the best, I was very much trying to prepare for the worst. There was no EMT there, which I thought would be there. That was very scary for me. What if he gets hurt?
This was a time that I had to make it happen. And I remember getting into this crazy mental zone that I've never experienced before, where I was so focused. It was like just the most peaceful feeling. It was crazy. I don't know how to describe it, but I was like, listen, I had to turn my brain off and go to such a crazy place where I have to perform at such a high level, and there's no room for fear. I can't have any what ifs. Like, I'm gonna walk up this hill, and the next time I come down, I'm going to quad flip. Like, that's the mentality I had going into this. And I truly didn't think I would get more than one try. I thought I would either land it, or I would knock myself out, or get significantly injured to where I couldn't try again. Like, I fully knew that I had one try. The confidence that I gained from bailing and being okay, I was like, wow, I was given a second chance. Now I get to go up and try it again. Well, went back up, same thing, just no fears, no emotions. I dropped in again for the second attempt at the quad flip. And this one was really bad. This one was very scary. I had an issue in training the flat bag where, because the ramp's radius was so tight for how big the bike is, I tended to drift to the right. And this was because I'm right foot forward. So when you pull so hard, if I don't get the timing just right, my center of gravity almost aligns, my waist would almost align with my feet, but one's forward, so it would pull me right. I'm pulling so hard that it would pretty much, I would end up pulling right whether or not I tried to. And I told Marcus when he was setting up, I was like, listen, I want it to be set up 5 feet offset to the right, because if I drift, I'm drifting right. So set it up that way. I'm like, I'm never gonna drift left. So if anything goes wrong, I'm gonna drift right. And for the second attempt, exactly that happened. I pulled, didn't get the right pop. I pulled to the right, and I did it. I mean, a huge double backflip, bailed, and I landed like 3 or 4 feet from the edge of the airbag. And had he not had the airbag set up to the right like that, I would have fallen from like 35, 40 feet in the air, concrete, and it would have been really, really bad. After 2 failed attempts, like, you know, your mind wants to wander and say maybe it's not possible, but I had to stay focused. I did everything again mentally, went into it to quad flip. Pulled, hung on.
Yeah! Let's go!
Ah! Dude! Dude! I was excited.
Watched each 4 flip go around, and the 4th flip opened up and rolled away. It took a while to set in. Like, I was in shock that was it. Like, now, like, I just did it.
people were cheering and screaming, and I was celebrating and cheering and crying so hard. And I'm just going to say half of those tears really were not just in celebration. They were in such relief it was over and he lived. Like, I was really that worried that he might not live through this attempt to do this trick. But it ended up, he did it, and I was so proud and I was so happy, and I just wanted to get away from that site and go celebrate.
Really just taught me again why I'm so proud to be the brother of Christian, and being able to see something like this happen. It was one of the craziest moments I feel like I've ever witnessed, and just a crazy thing to be a part of.
And I'm finally at a position where I have that opportunity. If I can land the first quad flip on a bike no one's done it on before, like, that would prove to that younger version of myself that I did it, that we did it.
But like when he landed it for the first time, I just booked it there. Like, just booked it. Like, you can even see in the video, like, I was the first one there tackling the guy. I was so happy because we put in so much work. Me and him talked about this since December the year before. So it was so nice to watch it all like come together like that.
Moving forward after the quad flip, when I go into projects, when I go into events, when I'm scared, I can look back on this monumental achievement and be like, man, I've put myself through something harder than this. Like, we can keep going.